Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Anton Willie, your host of Voice of the People United Community Forum. I thank you for joining us this evening. I'll be speaking with, for a brief while, South Ward Council candidate for the City of Orange. His name is James Ward. He's a friend of the show. He's been on a couple of times. He's going to sit with us for a while and talk to us and tell us his vision for the City of Orange and why he's running for City Council and why you should give him a look as the new leadership and new vision for the City of Orange. Thank you very much. Without further ado, let me bring on James Ward. Good evening, brother. How you doing?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man. How's everything?
You know, I'm doing all right. It's a nice, warm spring day, and I don't think I have much to complain about.
Oh, man, it's good to hear your voice, man. Good to see you. And good to know that you're back in the fray, being politically active and wanting to represent your town. So tell us what it is you're doing this time and why you're running.
Well, I think we spoke 4 years ago, and a lot of the themes are the same. But what we're trying to do is capture this pivotal moment in our country where we can improve the daily lives of people locally. While our country is having its difficulties, all around, we can make the biggest difference in affordability, safe neighborhoods, and economic opportunity right here by voting a new generation of city council members. I'm working to make a better Orange today and a stronger Orange tomorrow.
I always find it interesting talking to you. You usually have some innovative and creative ideas. So I'm going to start very briefly with this one here and jump right in. Man, taxes is killing everybody. And you guys in Orange, what you guys paying taxes relative, to a lot of other people in the state is very high. How do you see your tax dollars benefiting the citizens of Orange? And what changes would you like to see made so that citizens and residents can get a better bang for their tax dollar buck?
Well, you know me, let's start with the facts, okay? Orange has the highest effective tax rate in Essex County at 3.89%. The effective tax rate is kind of hard to understand for most people. It really comes down to the fact that we actually bill our residents nearly 100% to their real estate value. Most of the time, you take a percentage of that and then you go from there. The high effective rate affects our affordability. Whether you're a renter, whether you're an owner, the costs are the costs. Right now, our municipality is kind of operating with a blank check. They pay out, and then they make us, make up that difference. The line item about our taxes, the big thing is we have $100 million plus budget. It's up almost 10% since the last time we talked. We were at about 92 million in 2024. We were at 84 million in 2020, and this is not a sustainable way of moving forward. We're not tracking our costs. We're not looking for cost savings. We're not doing any sort of shared services. This is a problem that we can solve. We can solve it through data. We can solve it through making some hard decisions. But we are a microcosm of what's happening across our state of New Jersey. Whether you're in Orange, whether you're in Montclair, whether you're in West Orange, the formulas for how they're calculating state aid is changing because of the federal decisions. And imagine if Orange had to pay our full tax rate for the schools. Our schools budget is also $100 million. We would be in the same position as West Orange and Montclair right now, even more so with a $200 million budget if we had to pay all of it together. Something's not right. It's not adding up. We can change this, and I'm sure we'll get to a little bit more of that in the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Sahir. I'm glad you're there, Doctor. I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're in attendance for viewership. So let me get this right. You're saying that around about Orange's municipal budget, township budget, is about $100 million. And you're saying of that, like most cities, most urban cities, um, that most of that budget is met with state aid. How so?
So when I said the state aid, that comes with the schools formula. So the city of Orange pays about 14% of of our municipal tax to the school. What I'm saying is, imagine if we didn't get all that state aid, we'd be footing the bill also for our schools, as if we were in South Orange or Montclair. So that's where the state aid comes in. We're paying, I think it's about 85% of our municipal budget through our taxes. There is state aid, but it's not that much.
So let me ask you this, and I wanted to get to this. What about the programs for the youth and the elderly? Have those been affected by the current management of the system?
So I think last time we spoke, I had 2 children. Now I've got 3, 2 of which attend Orange Public Schools. And
congratulations.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of public schools. I'm a product of public schools myself. My youngest is going to be enrolling soon. She's 3, and there's nothing for them to do during the breaks. Next week's going to be spring break. I have to take off time. Somebody's got to come and fill in at home because there's not anything for us to do that's programmed. That's spring break. That's one thing. But in the summertime, we've done a mixture of things. We've sent them to family in other states. We've taken time off, but you can't take off, the whole summer. There's not anything in our town that's at mass for the children to do that's paid for through our taxes. Now, there are a lot of programs for older adults. There's like pick up and drop off programs for elderly family members that might be staying with you. And we have actually, I think the bulk of our affordable housing is for seniors. And so they're very well taken care of. But what about the rest of us?
Now, man, I hope the audience understands me asking this question. And I hope you do too. Do you think that's because they cater more to a voting population as opposed to? But wouldn't it make sense, James? To me, it would make sense that you do what you got to do for the kids too, because their parents vote, right?
Yeah.
And you do what you have to do for seniors as well, right? So where's the disconnect?
I think there's a disconnect. I mean, much like you said, the powers that be are going to cater to those who vote. Our older population have had a lifetime of civic lessons, and they understand what voting means. Our oldest seniors were part of that greatest generation that fought for our rights so that we could vote. So they really very much understand that, and they come out and vote. And that's a wonderful example that in some ways wasn't passed down. It is really important that we service all stratas of our society, and especially those who can't vote for various reasons, whether they've been disenfranchised because of previous life choices, or that they're children, or that they're immigrants. Everybody needs to be able to be represented in this town, whether you're voting or not.
I respect that. I respect that. Okay, so as if elected or when elected, Southport Councilman for the City of Orange, what is your number one priority for the residents in the South Ward of Orange?
So I've got a couple of line items of things that need to be taken care of within the first 100 days. Number one, we need to set term limits. I am not trying to be in this forever. Every job I've ever had, I've tried to almost work my way out of a job. Do such a good job or set up systems such that it operates without me. This is not something I need to do forever. And I'm putting my money where my mouth is. First piece of legislation I will write and propose and lobby forward is that we establish term limits for all levels of public service in the City of Orange. At some point, we all need new blood. Beyond that, the next item would be to change the election date. This ties directly into our funding sources for our tax problems. Okay, when you host an election, you pay for that election. Okay, someone pays for all those poll workers and that equipment and everything. Now, when you have a May municipal election, the city pays for that because the city's the only thing on the line item. But when we vote in November, that's paid for through other sources. So the city of Orange needs to change its election day to be in November, number one, so that we can get more participation. People are going to come out to vote for the midterm elections. People can get off from work or leave early, or at least have a reason to be late on more levels in our society than a random Tuesday in May. We need to open up access. So those are two very simple things, but the second part, we're going to start to save money on it immediately. Beyond that, we need to start to work on shared services agreements with our neighboring towns so that we can, again, reduce costs. This is the golden bullet in New Jersey. We have all these home rule cities that are set up from long ago discrepancies that people had about how they were going to formulate these towns. And we live with the legacy of it today with separate police, fire, administrative states, schools. That's the hot button issue, the third rail. Every other city I've ever lived in. I was born in Dallas, Texas. I was raised in Miami. I spent a lot of time in Washington, D.C., and I lived in New York before I moved here. Every other state I've ever lived in, counties run all of that. And that's why you have affordability in a place like New York. You have affordability in places like Miami, where there are multimillionaires that live within the same municipality as you, that have multi-million-dollar homes, that their taxes fund the schools, the police, the fire, the entire municipal administrative state. It's really simple. Nothing will really change. If today Orange Public Schools were merged with every school in Essex County, taxes would be cut in half from here to Montclair. Newark included, everywhere would become instantly affordable overnight. Would there be people upset? Yes. They're going to be upset for a number of reasons. But what they're not going to be upset about is that tax bill. And immediately, home values will rise in the state of New Jersey because it's going to be an affordable haven that Connecticut doesn't have and that New York doesn't have in some of its like leafier suburbs. It's a win-win situation. The only thing stopping it from happening is that there are people in other cities that don't want people from our cities to blend with their students. But again, that also doesn't make sense because we have we all moved to our towns for various reasons. I personally wanted to be able to commute to New York City, but I also wanted to have my children in sort of a small school district. My kids will continue to go to this school. Everyone's kids will continue to go to their schools because that's the neighborhood they live in. And maybe there might be a little bit of transferability from one place to another. But if you're going to really try that hard to get your child from Newark all the way to Montclair, back and forth every day for 12 years, more power to you, because I've tried it. One of the summer programs we put our kids in was in Montclair. And just getting back and forth to that was horrible. It was nerve-wracking. We were kind of glad that the summer was over, even though our kids were enjoying it. That's not a sustainable method of getting back and forth to school, and nobody would really want to do that.
Right.
But what we would get is affordability across the board and raise all ships.
So you strike me with an interesting perspective. So you brought up the school funding formula, and everybody knows that for most parts, New Jersey state school funding formula probably is one of the most ridiculous in the world. I can't even figure it out, and I just took a finance class, man. It's like it runs circles around you. With places like Newark getting almost $1.5 billion, how do you think that affects the stigma of education in surrounding cities such as Orange, East Orange? I know Montclair is having a great many problems with regards to their budget. They may have to lay people off. I know East Orange was at a time. But how does our districts in these urban districts, on one that are run by black people, why is it, or brown people, I'm sorry, why is it that in those districts and in those townships that are supposed to be led by black and brown folks, why is it that black and brown folks are catching hell? Why do you think?
So if I were to qualify your question, you're asking me what's the problem that's in our urban school districts, and why does it have this formula and the stigma? Is that
Well,
the question?
what I'm asking is this. We know that there's a problem in our school districts, and the problem is mismanagement. The problem is we spend a lot of money in a lot of our school districts, and our kids are still not performing at grade level. That's the reality, regardless of what the funding formula is or not. So, one, what made me ask the question was you mentioned the school funding formula and things of that nature and how schools are funded. But also you mentioned about the stigma about if we did shared services and we merged townships and things of that nature, how there may be a stigma from other communities. And what I'm asking you, I guess, in a sense, is one, do you think that the amount of resources that places like Newark, Irvington, East Orange get causes them to be at issue with other parts of the state or other different parts of the county or different cities in the state, because they get so much more money and they have very few results? You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Okay,
Okay.
so
All right.
so
Thanks.
the funding formula comes from how many people you have in your population that meet um, uh, federal guidelines for being at or below the poverty level. Okay, so if you're in Montclair and you're complaining that Orange is getting, we actually I think we got $2 or $4 million more in the state budget. Um, would you want to be in a place where people are making less money? Do you want to be a part of that population? Because that's the reason why people are getting aid, because they need aid. Now, let's separate that from the structural problems in the administrative state that we have in all the school districts. It doesn't matter if you're in Orange, whether you're in East Orange, whether you're in Newark. That school budget comes from the population size. Okay, so City of Orange, our population is about 32,000, 2.2 square mile city. Our budget is $106 million for schools. Okay, that's too much, so by what some people would say. But we have a large portion of that is going towards healthcare costs. Okay, when you negotiate healthcare costs, it's just like buying anything else. The more people you have in your plan, the more economies of scale you have, you can bring down the price. If we have one big school district, the cost is gonna go down, the total cost, even though that number is gonna go up. Just like in Newark, I didn't know this, but you just said that they have $1 billion budget. They also have a much bigger city. That's like 250,000 people. The formula is what the formula is. But the bigger problem is that we have aging facilities. Okay, we have an administrative state that needs to be taken care of, which is duplicative. So if we have Orange, East Orange, South Orange, West Orange, those are 4 different school districts that all have their own administrative states that could be merged. And they could be merged in a way that's responsible. I'm not saying everybody gets fired and there's one person. You're going to need multiple levels of hierarchy to take care of more people. Most people will probably end up still working for a combined school district. There's just going to be a flatter hierarchy. That's all. And then there's the structural problem that is how we've separated all these cities to begin with. Interconnection sounds like a great idea. Actually doing it, merging a bunch of systems, that's like trying to put a 51st state into the United States. Like these countries are well established. These entities are well established. It's almost like you gotta destroy the whole thing to build it back up again. It's a humongous problem to tackle, but the
Mm-hmm.
other side of it means affordability, and I would dare say higher level of achievement across the board, because what's working in one school district
Mm-hmm.
will get, hopefully, rise to the top, and those lessons learned will go across. there's another structural problem that we're not talking about. There's poverty. Okay, when we talk about poverty, poverty is affecting how people learn. That's why we have all of these charter schools that focus on the structural things that are happening at home so that they can help their students achieve more. There's the really great example of the Harlem Children's Zone in New York City, where they come to the house and they evaluate what's going on here. And they're like, hey, mom and dad, we need to work on your finances so that you can have a more stable household so that your child can learn and achieve. And they do all of the support in the background in the community. And that's why they call it the Harlem Children's Zone, because they're trying to build the entire economy around one place. We can do that. It doesn't have to be through a charter school network. It could just be through let's make a combined school district that we get achievement across the board, and we achieve also affordability for everybody in between.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I have a few more questions for you, but I'm going to lean into what you said about education and the budgets and things of that nature. Unfortunately, what has happened, and I don't know if you see this as well, but I know I do. I have over the years. Our governmental agencies, whether it's the housing authority, whether it's the school board, or whether it's the municipal government and things of that nature, they become employment agencies because government just doesn't generate the type of jobs that a township or municipality would need. And a great deal of the tax burden goes onto the homeowner because of the fact that these developers and other institutions, state and federal agencies who don't really pay taxes to a municipality with their business being there, they don't contribute to the tax base. So my thing is, where do you see the need to restructure tax abatements and things of that nature? Because if you looked on the outside looking in from Orange, I mean, it looks like everything is booming. You got apartment buildings going up everywhere, especially near the railroad, near the train station and things of that nature. It's definitely changing. You got a little bit of different corridors with nightlife and things of that nature. So what is it that you see that the taxpayer in the city of Orange is not getting for what they're paying in their taxes with regards to the expectations that residents should have?
Oh, I got two in the barrel for this question. I'm ready to go. So the biggest issue in the city of Orange are pilot programs. Okay, for those of you who don't know, pilot payment in lieu of taxes is instead of a property owner paying normal taxes at that effective tax rate, developers have negotiated a payment system, usually 5, 10, 15, in Orange 20, 25, 30 years. What the city will tell us is that we have 23 pilot programs, and we're getting, in 2023, the numbers were about $2.6 million. And they have this billboard that they have at the city council where they're like, look at all this money we're bringing in for these otherwise non-revenue generating properties. You know, these were dilapidated properties in need of rehabilitation. That's the language. But the problem is, and we can look this up. Okay, I challenge you, if you want to know the facts about this, go to the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs website. Okay, just search for pilot programs. There's a spreadsheet database. Okay, you download that spreadsheet on your computer, you sort by municipality, you go to Orange. Okay, it's going to give you all these numbers that I'm talking about. So there's three big things. Okay, or there's one big thing. I'll boil it down to one. They show what the pilots are, what the buildings are. They give you all the addresses of all the 23 buildings. They tell you how much each is bringing in revenue-wise. And then the most important thing that our city has left out from their chart is what would be the amount that we'd be getting in taxes from these 23 buildings if they were billed at the normal tax rate. So 2023, this is where the chart kind of ends. 2.6 million. Sounds good. We're adding $2.6 million where we're getting not $2.6 million. But if they were billed at their effective tax rate in 2023, it's $9.6 million. $9.6 million is what these buildings would be paying in combination instead of 2.6.
And let me get this right, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm going to look that up on what you said. You said the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, right?
Community Affairs.
In the pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes. Yeah, I know Plainfield and a few other cities, they're dealing with that right now. Now, what I've understood is with the pilot program, it's a little bit even more strenuous because the money from the pilot program goes direct to the city or the municipality, correct? No other entity affected or in the city, like the school systems and things of that nature,
Yeah.
recoup any of that money. Is that correct? Am I
So
wrong?
it's a double-edged sword, because when we pay our taxes, part of those taxes go to the city, part of it goes to the county, and part of it goes to the state, and then it all comes back around. That's how we get our state aid. We are paying taxes that go to the state. And yes, you're right. The deal with the pilot programs is that it's all supposed to go to the city. So it sounds like, oh, that's even better, because maybe they wouldn't be getting so much. It's like, no, they would be getting more. There's a massive difference between 9 million and 2 million. And the problem also is that it's not on an escalating scale. Some of these buildings are paying $250,000. One of the new buildings that's over there by the Orange train station, they're paying $250,000 a year. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. For the next 25 years. 25 years. So I mean, look at it like an annuity. Many people say, if I win the lottery today, I would take the lump sum because I can invest it better, XYZ. That's basically what we're doing to ourselves, but we're getting less money over time because of inflation. And we're at a massive inflationary period now. So all of the pilots that were negotiated 4, 5, 10 years ago, we're getting about 20% less on our dollar for that, because inflation last 10%. Okay. Inflation this year is going to be about 8%. Okay. Who knows what's going to happen next? It could be 12 by the time we're done. We're at war now. These are bad bets. Okay. Our neighboring towns in South Orange, Taylor and Voss, the building at Taylor and Voss, the shiny new building, it's got like a $6,000 apartment at the top. They negotiated a pilot program so that it would be an incentive. Like, this is supposed to be an incentive to help you build something here and instead of building elsewhere. 5 years. 5 years. That's what South Orange gives as a max from what I've seen. 5 years. Okay, 5 years should be enough that you've got the building going. You've got full tenancy, and it's helped spur something good in the community, and it's a win-win negotiation. When you make a 20-year agreement, that's longer than most people's lifetime that's sitting on city council. So you're going to make a decision today or 10 years ago that is going to be affecting me going forward long after you're not in office or you're dead. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. And we need to do our best to renegotiate every single pilot program, and not just Orange, but throughout the city, throughout the state, throughout this county. Like, this doesn't work. They tell us that they won't build here otherwise, but there are 3 train stations in Orange. 3, okay? They take you to New York City. So you're telling me that you don't want to build by a train station that puts you to New York, where you can attract people who are paying $5,000 a month so they can come to New Jersey to pay $3,500 a month for maybe a nicer place, and they can commute to the city. You're telling me that you're not going to build here, that I can get to New York City in 30 minutes unless I give you this onerous agreement? No, I don't think so. I think that we can work together with the developers so that it's a win-win situation. But right now, the city of Orange residents are losing, and we've had enough. I've had enough.
So why do you think that these deals are made more so to the benefit of the developer as opposed to the residents of the city?
I don't know. I don't want to make a conjecture as to the motivations of the people that are making those decisions, but I leave you to come up with your own decisions as to why somebody would sell out our city.
Got you. This is the 4th question. I got 2 more for you. You've said you've relocated to New York, from New York to New Jersey. You and I have spoken a couple of times before. As soon as you came to Orange, I was saying how proud I was of you. You just hit the ground running, wanting to get involved. You immerse yourself, your wife, your family, or whatever, into the day-to-day functionality of the city. And you said you wanted to be one of the city's leaders. Do you find yourself, having an uphill battle to get heard? Is it a machine that you're coming up against that is trying to contradict your path? What are you finding is hard and easy? And I don't want to use the word easy too lightly, but what are you finding there to be some of your difficulties and some of your soft spots running this campaign?
So let me reframe that just a little bit. So
Okay.
my wife and I moved to New Jersey in November of 2018. I had a close friend of mine from college who moved from our neighborhood in East New York um, to to Orange, New Jersey. And when he moved to New Jersey, I was like, "Bye, never gonna see you again." Instead, they invited us over to tell us that they were expecting a child, and we had just give birth to my son, who's now 9, and we were sitting in their dining room enjoying a meal, and they had this beautiful picture window, and it started to snow, and I was like, wow, this is really nice, I kind of like this place, and we moved here 6 months later.
Awesome. Awesome, man.
um, so when we moved here, we were thinking about family, we were thinking about community. It was cherry on top, I didn't realize this was a Black neighborhood. I was like, wow, even better. um, I moved here to raise my family. I moved here to connect with a friend, to build a community. We've since done the same with some of our friends and brought them over, and they're like, "Oh, this is nice." They've come, and we've built a community. We've connected with people. That's what it was about. I did not move here to get involved. Like, I got involved because we moved in November. By January, we got our first tax bill. And when
Mm.
we bought our house, it was we planned our budgets, just like how I'm saying our city should. We planned our budget. We said, I make this, my wife makes that. We bring all this together. We can afford this kind of house. This is what our bank told us. We can afford this. Okay. Um, our taxes went from $9,000 to $12,000 overnight. And then by the end of the year, it was at $15,000. We got an added omitted tax assessment. And then I'm like, wait, hold on. That's like almost a lifetime's worth of tax raising happening all at once. This is not what I signed up for. I'm like, there must be a mistake here. So I went to a city council meeting and I said, what is up with this? And they're like, oh, well, you bought one of these houses that was renovated, so you should pay more. I'm like, yeah, but the state statute says that you can't spot assess me, that you can't change my tax rate just because I bought a house that sold for more than it was sold for previously. And they're like, oh, no, that's not what it is. Whole thing. Down the rabbit hole I went. They didn't realize what kind of person I am. I'm the kind of person that I want to understand what the issue is so that not only it's not my problem, it's I can tell other people. But beyond that, I was like, if I'm going to stay here, if I want to raise my family here, I got to do something about this. So it's like I started screaming to anybody who would listen. We got to do something about this. Did your taxes do this? And they're like, yeah, it did. Every single person I've met in the South Ward of Orange who's moved here in the last 10 years, this has been their story. And it's been a story of struggle where some people can survive and some people can't. I am so extraordinarily thankful that I've been blessed that I can stay here, but many people can't. If you're a public service worker, you can't afford those kind of raises. If you are on a fixed income of any kind, you can't do that. And circling back to my friend that introduced me to this community that I went to college with, he suffered a massive stroke last year. This time last year, it didn't look like he was going to live. Fortunately, he's still here with us today after a very uphill battle. But now his household is on one income. Okay. Can someone like that afford to stay here? I hope so. We've done our best to try to help as we can in the community, but a change in your life should not affect that formula that you set up in your budget that allows you to stay where you've built community. It's quite literally the most un-American thing imaginable, that you've bought your house, you can afford it now, and then the municipality says, well, you actually owe us more and you can't pay that. Well, then we're going to sell a lien against your house, and then you're going to lose your house, and then all this happens. We literally fought a war of independence about unfair taxation, and we need to do a better job of keeping Orange affordable, keeping New Jersey affordable for everybody. This doesn't work.
All right. Um, two more questions for you. How do you expect to grow the Orange Business Corridor? Because in a sense, it's almost landlocked. The only way it seems most of the time you can bring tax revenue is through the new developments that are coming through. How do you expect to grow Orange small businesses so that they could be a stronger and more connected tax base that helps with the revenue in the municipality?
All right. So let's get hyper local. I'm running in the South Ward of Orange. Like, Main Street's got its issues. That's for them. I would hope to help do that. But when I talk about this political campaign, we're talking about the South Ward of Orange. And in the South Ward of Orange, we have a very vibrant commercial corridor that is Scotland Road. Scotland Road is like a quaint little street that has a diverse range of businesses. You've got hair salons, you've got a farmer's market that pops up every so often. You've got restaurants, there are daycares, a lot of things that you would want consist along the Scotland Road corridor. The problem with Scotland Road is that there's an access problem and there's a reputation problem. Many people who pass through there, if they want to stop, you can't stop because there's nowhere to park. And then beyond that, you see this like rush of businesses by you, but nothing really stands out. And sometimes you're going through Scotland Road to get someplace else. You might even be going down Scotland Road to get to South Orange, where all of a sudden everything kind of slows down. It slows down because it was designed that way. I've learned to see the world through like an architect's mindset. I went to school for design. I've practiced in the city. I practiced construction management in the city. But when I see Scotland Road, I see what I also saw on Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn. When I went to Pratt Institute, Myrtle Avenue in Brooklyn was kind of like this sleepy road, much like Scotland Road. It had a bunch of businesses, and if you experienced it as a pedestrian, you were like, oh, I can stop here and I can go here and I can get this, and it kind of works. But when you're in a car, you just would fly down Myrtle Avenue. They've put a median down the middle that forces you to physically slow down, but it also makes it easier for pedestrians to cross. It also adds greenery, which immediately makes it just feel nicer. And then they also did something that we need to do immediately, is to form a business improvement district, a BID. So if there's a Scotland Road Business Improvement District, much like what they did at my example in Brooklyn, it's a pot of money. First, a BID is an organization. Okay, it's an LLC that exists to help that district. Each one of the businesses along the district become contributing members of the business. They can pour in funds, but most importantly, because it's an entity, it can apply for funding itself. It can get a loan. Okay, it can qualify for grants. It's an entity amongst itself, and its entity has a purpose. Its purpose is to improve that district. So if we want to raise money for improved signage, you can get that through the business improvement district. Okay, if you want to improve the street fronts, we just need to install new glass throughout. You do it through the business improvement district. And then beyond that, as a councilman, what I would do is to impose what I've said in the past, design standards. Now we're not talking about building codes. Okay, I think there was a confusion about building codes and design standards. Like, it's semantics, but there's a difference. Okay, when we're talking about building codes, we're talking about what's legal and safe. We're talking about design standards. How does it look? How does it feel? Okay, when you step into towns like Summit, and when you step into even West Orange, okay, they have a standard for what business should look like, how big the font is, the colors, the sizes, and the lights. Okay, all of that is what contributes to that look and feel that's inviting, and it adds to property values and improves that business district. When we do this, we're going to solve one, the structural problem that is just kind of like haphazard business, but also when we fix the pedestrian issue, okay, we need to be looking at city planning from like not this godlike perspective, but like how does it feel on the street? We need to encourage all these new buildings that are coming up to, instead of doing this like podium that's like humongous and you have all this parking, but it's like a concrete wall that exists. You know, the beautiful new buildings that are showing up all around Orange, they look great from the train, they look great from the highway, but when you're walking, we've created these liminal spaces. Liminal spaces are spaces where you don't feel safe when you're walking through. If you're a woman, if you're a child, even myself, if I'm walking down a corridor of walled edifices that are 20 feet tall and there's nobody in sight and there's no reason to be there, even when you walk down 34th Street in Manhattan at 2 o'clock in the morning, the businesses are closed, the lights are on, okay, and you feel like, okay, I can make it from here to there, rather than if you walked on 33rd Street, okay, when you're behind all those businesses, you're like, I need to get to Penn Station as quick as possible because it doesn't feel safe here. Okay. These are design mechanisms that we know about. Like there's books on these things. We need to employ this in our city. So instead of having the parking go all the way to the front face of the building, all you need to do is give up 10 feet of space to provide a retail opportunity for a business. That can be negotiated through what is it, BD? This was like my big campaign point last time. The not business improvement district, the forgetting the word right now, but community benefits agreement. That's what it is. You negotiate this through a community benefit agreement. You say, we're going to give up X number of parking spaces, maybe in exchange for that tax break that we're talking about. Okay, so we're providing an affordable space for a small business to operate. So you're doing two things. You're getting something positive for the community out of this building that nobody would ever get to interact with. Okay, it's improving the street face. Okay, and then you're also providing affordable, small footprint space that's going to go to a small business that can open up. It's a win-win-win situation.
Okay, man. I just want to say once again, thank you for spending some time with me this evening. And I just want to ask you before I get to the last question: is there anything you think we left out on this conversation? I know we'll be talking going leading up to election day, but is there anything you want the residents of Orange of the South Ward to know that we may have left out of this conversation?
Yeah, there's one thing, and I would definitely encourage another conversation. As you can see, like I could just talk for forever.
Yeah, man.
This campaign is about bridging communities. The South Ward are two distinct communities. There's the Valley, and there's Seven Oaks. There, other than the fact that we have density in one place and less density in another, we are dealing with the same issues. Affordability is the number one issue across the South Ward. And beyond that, we need transparency and access to information. There are some things that our city actually does very well. I'm not going to name those things right now, but there are things that our city does do well. But what we don't do well is communicate. There's embedded distrust in our city and its leaders because there's no access to information. And what I want to say about me is when given the opportunity to lead, I've shown that leadership style through what I've been doing on the zoning board. Since we talked last, I was on the zoning board previously. For the last 2 years, I've been elected by my peers to be the chairman of the zoning board. And the first thing that I did was I opened up all the records. So I went through every single record that I could get my hands on for the last 10 years, I think it's 20 years, and I put it into a database. That database is just a spreadsheet, but that spreadsheet gets visualized through publicly available information, but allows you to take the spreadsheet of information that's like mind-boggling and puts it into a format that's visual. So you have charts, you have graphs, you've got maps, and it's all interconnected. So if you have an address that you're concerned about, you can click on it. It shows you what that case was, who voted on it, how it was decided, and you understand what's going on. We can do this. Like, we quite literally live in the future. It's the year 2026. We should not be looking at spreadsheets that talk about how our city is spending its money. Nobody understands it. Even financial people, you've got to sit down and explain these things. It's like, it's a lot. It foments distrust in our city. When given the opportunity to lead, I've shown that I can help people make better informed decisions through data. But I'm also a solutions-based governor. What we need to do is be solutions-based. I don't ever come with a problem and leave it on the footsteps of our leaders. And I'll close with this part. In the time from 4 years ago to now, I've managed to get 2 pieces of legislation passed. 2. Okay. The first was, there was a problem at the schools. Every single school in the city of Orange has this odd system of dropping off students, where we don't necessarily have like these modern schools that they've got like a drop-off zone and you can pull into the school. It's just kind of like a free-for-all. Okay. And then my children would get out of school or go into school, and our street would be blocked with cars in both directions, parents, students yelling at each other. It was just a mess. Okay. I went to the school board and I drew a plan. You know, that's what I do. I draw plans. I drew a plan and I said, I think we should have a bus drop-off zone here. Students get out here, and you have any teacher or administrator that's there helping facilitate getting the younger children from the cars to the school. Because when you have small children like mine were at the beginning, you want to see them get into the door, and so you wait, and that it blocks up everybody. But if there's a teacher there that you see every morning, you feel better driving off. I sat with the school board. I presented this plan. They liked it. I went to city council. I presented the plan. They liked it. I went and sat down with our police leadership, and we formulated how we can put this into action. They had to change some of the municipal code. We made it a one-way direction on Haywood Avenue, temporary, and then they have like blocked off intersections, and they painted the street, and now it's better for everybody. And then the second piece of legislation was on driving schools. So in the South Ward in Seven Oaks, we have these driving schools that operate here. Some of them are like legal businesses, and some of them are just people learning how to drive. But we've had a number of incidents where there's been a destruction of property, cars damaged, yards damaged. And one of these incidents happened right in front of my house, happened at my neighbor's house across the street from me. And I captured it on my security camera that 2 people arrived. One was the instructor. The other was the person learning in their own car. And the instructor was standing in the street. The person learning how to drive floored their car in reverse and spun out in the street and onto the neighbor's yard, almost running over the instructor, and then like fishtailed real fast onto the sidewalk, destroying the neighbor's yard entirely. I wasn't home at the time, but my 2 neighbors came out. They said, "Is everybody all right? Is everything okay?" And like, "Everything's okay." And they said, "Well, what are we going to do about this person's lawn?" And they laughed, got in their cars, and drove away. And so what I did is I got that footage and I played it on repeat, just the part where they spin around and drive off. I played it on repeat on a council meeting behind me, and I explained why this is a problem, what we can do about it, and the fact that I had written legislation pre-ChatGPT on how we can solve it. You know, we need to have a license for the businesses that are operating on our streets, because their business is operating literally in our street, and they're not paying taxes to pave that street, but they're operating their business there. Okay, so they got to pay a fee. If they don't pay the fee, there's an escalating fee on a ticket. They need to show that they're licensed and insured to have their business, and there's like a bunch of other stipulations about time and place. We enacted that. I worked with our existing council person to do this. You know what they did in response? The very next council meeting, they restricted access to share your screen. We solved the problem.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I was on a Zoom meeting, on a city council meeting. I showed this video. I spent the next 2 weeks working with the council members to enact the legislation that they proposed and passed with their names on it, not mine. Okay. And at the next council meeting, they said you could no longer share your screen. No one. Who was that for?
That sounds crazy, man.
That was their response to a citizen helping the city do its job. I wasn't looking for credit, okay? But I'm saying it now because others are claiming credit for it. I did the work. This is how I lead. This is how we will improve our city.
James, I appreciate you coming on here this evening, man. I always appreciate our time together. I'm looking forward to speaking with you right before Election Day. Tell everybody where they can find information about you, what's your line number for this upcoming election, and tell everybody why they should vote for you in the South Ward of Orange.
I made a video on social media, and I'll repeat just a little bit of it. But our city has strong foundations. We have strong families and we have strong potential. Our potential requires leadership that's willing to ask tough questions, demand accountability, and to make thoughtful decisions about the impact so that we can protect our residents. We can restore the confidence in our local government. We can build a future that's more affordable, and we can be more transparent and united. We can have a better Orange today and a stronger Orange tomorrow. And I humbly ask for you to vote for James Ward, line 2A. You can find more information about my campaign at jamesward4orange.com or jw4o.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Friend of the show. We've spoken a couple of times before. I hope not to make this so much longer the next time, but we definitely will get him back on the week before Election Day. James Ward, man, he's running for South Ward Councilman in the city of Orange. Go look him up and find out what you can about him. He sounds like a man with a great many ideas and who loves his community. So I thank you all for tuning in. James, I thank you for tuning in with me this evening and taking some time out of your schedule, man, to talk to the residents of Orange. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for tonight's special broadcast. I'll be on Wednesday, tomorrow at 8 p.m. with Sheila Montague. She's running for mayor of Newark. And I'll be on Thursday with Alicia Austin Singleton. She's going to be talking about home ownership, affordability, rent control, and a lot of things of that nature. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, this is Anton Willie, your host of Voice of the People United, and this is my guest, James Ward, who I was happy to host this evening. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless you all, and good night.